Well, sometimes when you do something for long enough, it's always good to revisit why you're doing it. This is our 15th year of the competition, and I've had the privilege and honor of being a judge in the first couple years and then heading up the effort for the last several. So one of the things we wanted to do was to introduce APL, or students to APL, and APL to students. We want to plant seeds for the next generation of APLers. Generally, if you look around at an APL gathering, I'm one of the young guys sometimes, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But I see so many young faces here today, it's really exciting. So I think the seeds are bearing fruit. We want to increase APL's visibility, right? Not just to students, but in general. And also, a lot of our clients need APL help. And so we help to, we use the competition to help identify potential recruits. And so I thought we might take a look at the past. And in 2009, Brooke Allen got this kicked off with Dyalogs and some other sponsorship. And it consisted of the first 20 Project Euler problems. And Brooke had compiled a list of over 1,600 email addresses at different universities and schools, heads of computer science departments and such. And then in 2010 to 2012, we used mostly self-written problems. In 2010, there was a rent versus buy problem, and then we added 5 Rosetta Code problems. And that contest was, Joel Huff won the contest in 2011 and inspired the creation of tryapl.org. Because when he goes out to learn a new programming language, he says, the first thing I do is I try and find, try Haskell or try Python. And he said there was no tryapl. And the words had no longer escaped from Joel's mouth when Morton texts me, we need to build tryapl. And since I had my server working at the time, we implemented tryapl about 3 months later. In 2013 to 2018, the competition was hosted by studentcompetitions.com. And we also segued from an APL programming contest or competition to an APL problem solving competition. Because really that's what APL is all about, solving problems, right? I've never considered myself a programmer, and probably neither have my coworkers. But I solve problems for a living, and I make problems for a living too. And so this is when we split into 2 phases, where phase 1 is 10 one-liner problems, problems that can be solved in generally a single line of relatively straightforward APL. And then phase 2 consisted of some more complex problems. And then in 2014, we realized that it would be nice we had a lot of non-student participants. So we started the non-student prize, which is a paid registration to the next Dyalog user meeting. And then also in 2016, we went to domain-specific phase 2 problems. So we tried to isolate on specific problems, whether it was bioinformatics or statistics or finance or recreational computation. We would try and come up with problems in a particular flavor. Then since 2019, we've been dog fooding. And this is a term that I learned from GitHub, and it's basically using your own products. So you might recognize a few of these, but every one of these in red is something that we've grown, we've developed within Dyalog, and we're using other off-the-shelf components. And so it all starts with the participant, the contestant or the competitor. And we have a Docker my server container, and we have HTTP command in there. We've got to have HTTP command. We have the Dyalog cryptographic library, the SQAPL interface, an SMT or SMTP class to send emails, and Docker A, which does error logging. We've got some sort of permanent storage so we can store the solutions that the contestants submit. We have a SQL database or MySQL database running in a Docker container. They're connecting via HTTPS, but behind HA proxy, it's HTTP. that they're talking to my server with. HTTP command goes out to reCAPTCHA to make sure that it's not a bot trying to enter the competition. Although one of these years, maybe ChatGPT might win, but hopefully that's a few years off. We use SMTP to send emails to the user for when they forget their password or their first password authentication. We also use HTTP command to grab Adam's safe executor. So Adam has written a utility where you can run APL expressions in a safe environment. It whitelists operations so that you can't, erase your hard drive or something. So there's some forbidden operations. And then SQAPL talks to the database, and the database talks to permanent storage. Users upload files. Dr. A, if there's an error, it reports files to permanent storage. And then finally, we have a watcher that sends emails to the development team in case anything goes awry. And all of this is running in a continuous integration mode using Jenkins and Rancher. So here's one of the Jenkins logs where it checks out the repository, updates the my server image, builds the Docker image, tests the website, publishes it, and deploys it, and then does some cleanup. And basically, whenever we make a new commit to the repository, all of this happens, and if we go to clean up, then we've got a new version of the contest online. So that's at http contest.dyalog.com. And we've added automated validation, which uses Adam's safe executor, and it yields silver and gold. We have base cases for each problem and edge cases. And generally edge cases are, does it deal with empties, does it deal with scalars, the types of things that we have to deal with as APLers. And if they pass just the base test cases, they get a silver trophy, and if they pass the base and edge cases, they get a gold trophy. With phase 2, we just do syntax validation, that when they submit their solutions for phase 2, we check that they have the necessary functions with the correct syntax, but we don't do any validation of the code that's within. And we've also, over the past few years, we've tried to simplify phase 2. The prizes that we give out, which are, to the winner, it's a all expense paid trip to the Dyalog user meeting, plus some cash. I said, well, that's worth something, and so we're going to make them work for it. And so I've been beaten up about making the phase 2 problems a little too difficult sometimes. And so we've been simplifying that because we really want to encourage participation, but still make the problems challenging enough that you can differentiate between quality solutions and solutions of a lower quality. So over the past 15 years, Ronald Chan was our first winner in 2009, and he interned at Dyalog and did some interpreter work. Joel Huff was the inspiration for Try APL, and he co-presented with Morton at an InfoQ conference in San Francisco. Marinus Oosters wrote Pineapple, which you saw Jesus demonstrating, yes? Josh David, who's here with us today, won, I don't remember which year, but he worked with the Carlyle Group and is now working with Dyalog. And Zach worked with RiskFlow, and he contributed problems for the future competition, and Elva did the same. So this year, we had 161 new registrants who had never participated or registered in the competition before, which is pretty good. And 80 of those submitted, almost half submitted solutions, which again is a pretty good hit ratio. We had 130 total participants from 36 countries. We had 928 correct phase 1 solutions, so there are 10 phase 1s. So you divide that by 130, and it's about a little more than 7 per problem, phase 1 problem solved per participant. And we had 43 participants submitting. We had 2 phase 2 problems this year, and they submitted solutions, 72 solutions for both problems. And this is the distribution. I always show graphs like this. So again, the US had the most number of participants. Canada and Italy were next with 10, and I don't know what that green wedge, the green wedge is probably unknown. But the interesting thing is you typically see a spike when the competition opens, right? The floodgates open and everybody starts submitting because there's this pent-up demand. And then it kind of tapers off, but we still have, fairly consistent, some level of activity throughout the course of the competition. And then when the deadline comes, you have another spike. Typical students, or me. And so that was the previous graph was the number of submitters. The orange line here is the number of submissions. So you have some people that are submitting, the problem 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 times as they refine their solutions. And we keep track of each iteration. So, and then again, here's a cumulative solution. So we had over 1,900 solutions submitted over the course of the competition. And then I also like to see this one, we try and rank the phase 1 problems by difficulty, easiest to most difficult. And so you can see that, things tend to wane as you get to the harder problems. So let's talk a little bit about the future, because the competition has evolved over the last 15 years and it's going to continue to evolve. And so we're still working out some of the details, but our goals are to make it even easier to participate and less intimidating to participate. And again, we want to encourage more participation. So we're actually going to try and run somewhere between 2 and 4 competitions a year. I say 2 because I have to write the problems. Stina says 4 because she wants to get a lot of participation. So we'll arm wrestle about that next month. Yeah, darn, rank has its privileges. And in this case now, anyone can win, not just students. We're opening it up to everybody. And phase 2 disappears, sort of, and I'll talk a little more about that. So we're going to have 10 phase 1 type questions only. So we're going to be using the same framework that we've developed. And 3 of the problems will be trivial, list of integers from alpha to omega, 3 easy problems, and then 4 a little bit harder, but still quite solvable in 1 line. And then we'll use Adam's executor to do automatic testing, and we'll give them immediate feedback on how they did. And so for every problem you solve correctly and get a gold crown for, or a gold trophy for, you'll get 1 entry into a cash prize drawing. So if you solve all 10 problems, you basically get 10 entries into the lottery. And we're working out what replaces phase 2. We're going to be discussing this at our company planning meetings next month. And we're looking at possibly having some sort of domain-specific projects. And this will be where, the bigger prizes will be reintroduced. So in 15 years, we've introduced APL to hundreds of newcomers, and most of them being students. And we got inspiration for TryAPL, and the problems at problems.tryapl.org, where all of the past phase 1 problems are available for people to play with. And then this has also been an inspiration for the series that Adam and others have been doing called APL Quest, where they take a particular problem from a past year and examine it, different approaches to it, different solutions. And if you haven't seen any of these, they're really brilliant. It's really cool to watch. I've learned things, but everyone learns things from Adam. And we've also enjoyed some really brilliant winner presentations. Again, all of the presentations by winners are available on our website. And if you haven't seen some of the ones in the past, please go review them, because some of them are truly excellent. So if you want to help, you can become a sponsor. It's between the the level of internal effort and the prizes. Sponsorship is a very helpful thing. You can contribute problem ideas, and we're always looking for more problems. And one of the problems with problems is that either Adam has put some clever bit of code in APL cart, or John Scholes has solved it in dfunds or something. So coming up with new, unique problems is getting more challenging. And we can also be a beta tester. Before we release the competition every year, we submit the problems to a set of beta testers, and they give us feedback on how clear was the description, how difficult was the problem, and so we can tweak it before we release it to the general public. And also refer participants. You know, if you walk up to random teenagers on the street and say, hey, no, let's not do that. And just spread the word about the competition. I mean, that's part of what makes it successful. So I'd really like to thank people and organizations without whom we could not conduct this competition. And from the very beginning, we've had a set of very dedicated sponsors, and again, without them, we wouldn't have a competition. So SimCorp and InvestCloud, and we have some anonymous sponsors as well. And again, thank you very much. It's been this is a very fulfilling exercise to do. It's I get paid for it, but it doesn't feel like work. And I also want to thank our beta testers for helping vet the problems, and then our team. Now, this used to be a considerably smaller set of pictures, but basically this is, and if I've missed anybody, I apologize, because so many people have helped, whether it's just sitting around discussing problem ideas, or Fee, who keeps us on the straight and narrow. She's basically the project manager for it, and so she thinks her job was only to nag, but if she didn't, we would run off the rails. And Gita and Stina for their help in administrative. Jason keeps everything working. Michael does the website, and we have a lot of people that participate in the judging of the solutions. So again, just being able to work with this team is really terrific. So this year's winners, well, the non-student first place is Alexander Block, and he'll be here in a few minutes to present some comments on his participation. The student third place is Zinters Kloos from Riga Technical University. Second place is Rory Kemp. Now, Rory's been a winner in previous years as well, so it's nice to see returning users. Actually, Zinters was a previous participant as well. And this year's grand prize goes to Andrea Pesari, and who'll be speaking in a few minutes. And so I'd like you to welcome Alexander and Andrea up to receive their awards, and so we can hear from them. So. I'm going to hand out the certificates now.
Right, so Alexander, for the non-student first prize, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done. And Andrea, for demonstrated excellence and ingenuity in the use of APL. The first prize, grand prize for students. Congratulations.